Probably one of the closest outfits I have to like something from the 70s. I don't know. There's some people that work at the Belcourt that actually have like full like 70s wardrobe on their person at all time. I don't. I probably should invest a little bit into it. Maybe bring the jean look back or something. I don't know. But like this is all I got, okay? But today we have something a little bit different. We have the the Belcourt 1973, what you want to call it, showcase, I guess? We're trying something a little bit new today with an added challenge as well. I made a vow years ago to, in some extent or another, review all the films that I see on a silver screen, the big screen, somehow, some way. But for cases like this, I got something a little bit different in mind. I think since it was part of a package and I saw multiples, this makes more sense. Similar to what I did at the tail end of last year with the Belcourt's 12 Hours of Terror. Those were 7 films that I did a rapid fire review for. For this last month, the Belcourt, which is a great little art house cinema, non-profit place I go to, and they do everything from new modern indie films to really indie films to foreign films, and my personal favorite, they'll have either midnight films or they'll have cool like different programs or showcases of just classic films or films that I've either never seen or always wanted a chance to see on the big screen. This time they had a bunch of basically infamous and some classic and some like weird and wild picks from the year of 1973. I'm not very prolific in older cinema. I'm trying to get more and more experience to it, and this I thought was the perfect time to do it. So there were 18 total films, unless I miscounted, 18 total films that were available for viewing in the showcase. I wanted to see more than I did, but due to scheduling conflicts and time constraints, I got a chance to see 5 of them, and these were luckily the 5 main ones I did want to see. So here's where things get interesting. To make this go by efficiently as possible, I'm going to use a timer to help myself. I have 5 films to review, rapid fire review. I will give myself no more than 2 minutes to speak on each film and give a quick rating for. I've gone over, I redid one of the ratings here or there. I think I know how this is gonna go. So without further ado, let's get into it. Go, all right. First film I saw was Enter the Dragon. This is one of those like Bruce Lee joints. I've heard about Bruce Lee for years, always wanted to watch his films. For some reason, have never gotten around to seeing his films. I really enjoyed this one. This was one of my favorites out of the 73 series. I've seen more posters and clips from films like this than anything, including that one famous image of him with the scratches on like his face and his like chest and whatnot. But like, I know Bruce Lee is very well known for doing a lot of his own stunts, for being this like figurehead of cinema back in the day, for bringing in like for being a guy who's just like so ripped and powerful and also like brutally efficient in combat. And this film was very fun to watch, almost like a James Bond type of thriller. There were a few main characters to be had in this film, but he goes to investigate this film, and this bad guy goes in there to this like tournament of champions and takes on some heavy hitters. There's some great fights, the choreography is great. The only downsides to this film, where I think the pacing suffers a little bit, end of Act 1, you have these like flashback sequences that kind of give you an idea of why all of the 3 main characters are coming to this island, you know, whether they're in it for the fame, the money, because they have no choice, whatever. It messes with the pacing a little bit, but then when the film gets back into it, it goes. It's fun. It was entertaining. It's sometimes it was kind of, there was some fake little moments here and there, but for the most part, practically done. For the most part, well done, entertaining, iconic in a lot of ways between the camera work, the soundtrack. I'm running out of time, but it was really fun. I would give Enter the Dragon a solid 4 out of 5. 3, 2, 1, go. Next movie we have is one that I heard a lot of different things about one way or the other. Apparently very infamous for a lot of different reasons. We have The Holy Mountain. Originally, I did not want to see this film. I did not like the trailer for it. The trailer was just weird for the sake of weird. There was like voiceover work that was done in it that was like The Holy Mountain is a film that's unlike any other you've seen. And I didn't like how in the trailer they were like, The Holy Mountain is outside the realm of criticism. And I'm like, alright, first of all, get out of here. Like, I was told from some people it was very grotesque, very weird, there's animal cruelty, weird film I don't want to see again. Basically, I had this picture painted for me that it was going to be a violent, depraved, nudity-filled, torturous film and all this. Going into it, I didn't quite think that. Once you get past that opening, which even the opening I think is, you can read the metaphors and the allegories that are being put down for you, a lot of religious iconography and whatnot, and once the opening gets through, you have the film that honestly felt more like a Monty Python film than anything. It was weird and gross sometimes, and there's definitely some needless animal cruelty, and there's definitely violence and sexual thematic material and all this, but overall it was a very interesting journey that was fairly entertaining and actually had moments that did make me laugh, just because either they were ridiculous or they were just like overly sexualized, or because there was meant to be hilarity to be drawn from it. The ending literally is reminiscent to me of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, like the literal fourth wall breaking ending. To say which one about the film, I didn't love it. I don't have a desire to see it again, but it wasn't, compared to some of what I've seen in the past, this wasn't as depraved and crazy as I thought it was going to be. But for 1973, I can obviously see why people would feel that way. But Holy Mountain would be, timer's run out. Holy Mountain would be a low 4 out of 5, and I was very surprised that I gave it a rating as high as that, but I give it a rating of low 4 out of 5. Like, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't as crazy and weird as I thought from what people told me, but I didn't love it. I just recognize its quality of a film, and I still don't know how I feel about it. Timer starts for the next one, and boy, is the next one a doozy. Next one that I ended up seeing on the 1973 circuit was Messiah of Evil. Here is the thing. The trailer for this, I don't know if this is just a modern trailer that has the HD enhancements or whatnot, or if it's supposed to be cut in a certain way with a more modern editor's take on all this. The trailer looked great. I was very excited to see this one. Maybe not very excited, but I was very curious. I love seeing old classic and especially old well-done horror. This was not very well done in my opinion. The cool thing about this film was that the reel they were using to show it on, this original film reel, has seen so much in its lifetime. Like, it is damaged and scratched and faded so much that it's no longer even like, I mean, it's color, but it's like all like red and it's like pink, which makes sense, I guess, for the film's context, because the whole thing about this film is this blood moon that rises during a certain every 100 years or whatever and can get in the minds of people. So it makes sense how the whole film is kind of colored by that, and funny enough, it ironically coincides with that. But this film is so damn, nothing happens. It is slow. The pacing is terrible. And I know what it's trying to do. It's trying to be a slow burn horror. And the horror is either implied, the psychological components that come in, things do happen, people do die, there are some practical effects, which is, a positive to take away from this, but like, it's a snooze fest. Like, this had so much that could have been going for it, but it's vague, it's uninteresting, it kind of explains why what is happening, but only in the vaguest of sense, and even then, it doesn't really act fully on that. There's one creepy jump scare that kind of got me in the town involving a guy being chased, but that's about it. This film is awkward and slow and starts that way, proceeds that way, ends that way. It was incredibly boring. I have no desire to see it again. There are some people out there, oh god, there's some people out there who like it a lot. I did not like it a lot, but only because of the actors trying their damnedest, as far as I can tell, the practical effects, the attempted horror, and the concept and all that. Like, there's some okay pieces there that could have been remotely interesting should they have explored it or delved into it, but this is a film that gives you some ideas, doesn't use them properly, and goes virtually nowhere with them. I'll give it a 2 out of 5. I'll give Messiah of Evil a 2 out of 5. Barely there. I would not recommend it. Timer start. Here we go for the next one. The next one, I did not know this was not a comedy until I went to, like, the night that I was going to go see it. We have Jesus Christ Superstar. I know what you're thinking. Oh, the atheist over here going to see the religious film. He's not going to like that. Correction. I wanted to see this for a majority of reasons. For some reason, I thought going into this, it was going to be very Book of Mormon-esque, a musical about Jesus Christ. I thought, oh, well, that's two things you normally wouldn't see hand in hand, but especially if it's about the story of his crucifixion. So I assumed comedy, wrongfully so. But the historical significance of this film and the performances given therein do elevate this greatly. I think the pacing is still not great, and there's an inherent bias I have as an atheist where I wasn't too terribly interested in the plot and story and content of this film, but still gave it its fair shake. And you know what? there are aspects of this film that I very much enjoyed. Not all the musical numbers, but some of the musical numbers I enjoy. I think the guy that plays Judas, unless I'm mistaken, it's the actor who plays Judas, he's the best part of the film. He has the most he's the most animated. He has the most vocal range. He's great. The main Jesus guy, I don't know how to feel about him. I forget his name, but he's, I mean, yeah, he makes me laugh more than anything, but it's a very interesting story, and even from the beginning, when it's like, oh, don't worry, don't make any questions, don't worry, just have faith in me, isn't that enough? Like, it all triggers me a whole bunch because of logical thinking and the recent, wave of deconstruction when it comes to religion and Christianity, but we're not going to get into that or get into any, like, soapboxes or anything. I'm talking a mile a minute here. It was fun for reasons that I can understand. It's iconic in its own way. It is definitely not one of my favorite musicals. There's a lot to be taken in a positive way. Some good musical numbers, good performances. For anybody who has extreme reverence for religion or the story of Jesus Christ, including his crucifixion, I get the importance of it, and that factors into it as well. As a film made in 1973, good job. It's good overall. My entertainment, I enjoyed aspects of it. I really enjoyed some aspects of it, but overall, take it or leave it, I don't have a burning desire to see it again. But I would give Jesus Christ Superstar a high 3 out of 5. It is definitely, overall for me, an above average film. I recognize its quality and content, but I didn't love it. I just thought it was alright, but there are times I'd be sitting there wondering, hey, when's this gonna wrap itself up? Alright, last 2 minutes, here we go. The finale on this one, and what a way to end it. We had 1973, shocker, Lady Snowblood. This film was definitely very entertaining, and is definitely a heavy inspiration for a lot of our American pop culture media and films, especially films like ones Tarantino has done, which I like that. A film like this for 1973 was bold, violent, iconic, and a lot of directors clearly picked up on those things and had reverence for them, and ergo applied and extrapolated and kind of paid homage to that in their films and still do through the more modern generations. I love to see a female protagonist. We love to see a gal on the quest for vengeance. Japanese, samurai, katana-wielding badasses, assassins, or stories of demons and their vengeance or whatever. It was cool, and sure, there were comical, like, fake blood, like, slashes and splatters and whatnot, but I think it played into itself very well. It was entertaining. It was a cool quest. There were only a couple times where I thought the pacing started to suffer a little bit, but very rarely. There were some times where I thought characters hesitated a little bit too much to my liking and ergo suffered because of it. I get it from a cinematic perspective or from like how stories were told and portrayed on screen back then, but things could have been a bit quicker, especially for people that are supposed to be these like trained killers. They could have been acting a bit faster, but I'm just nitpicking at that point. The film is cool. It's a good foreign film. It's a good story of vengeance with some like moral gray area there of like, oh, well, is it right to do this? What about this person's daughter or children or whatever? Is it right to then publish these publications about it? Because we're reading all this from the perspective of an author who's writing about the story of Lady Snowblood. Is that even an okay thing to be doing? But overall, it was fun, it was violent, it was kind of dark here and there. I really enjoyed it overall. I think Lady Snowblood might have been my favorite out of the 1973 films that I did watch, and for that reason, I would gladly give it a high 4 out of 5. Oh my god. Speedy Gonzalez. Alright, those were quick, rapid-fire, vague reviews. Overall, I want to thank the Belcourt for doing stuff like this. Events and programs like this are fun, they're interesting. They have like a package deal where you can get like a bundle of 5, but it's really cool to see films that are, older or iconic that are then brought to a bigger screen and you can experience it, both on the silver screen, but also in the context of like, oh, is an audience seeing this? So whether you're someone who's a bit older and remembers these from your youth and you're revisiting these classics, or you're someone like me who, could easily stream this at home, but gets to see these alleged classics for the first time on the big screen in that format. I always love it when I can see a film for the first time on the silver screen, especially with an audience. It elevates the experience, and I enjoy it, and I am appreciative of it, as this is my solace, my sanctum is the cinema. But yeah, the Belcourt 1973 showcase, or whatever they called it, was fun. Out of all the films that I saw, they weren't all great. Like, I don't know if it's just films that were like made in the 70s, some are hit or miss, but there were a few really good ones that I enjoyed and that even still work well. They both work well under today's standards and with today's context. Some of them aged well. It's fun to watch older films with the current political and media context that we have today, or the, whether it's for the memes or for like how comedy and opinion has changed and evolved. Some of these were funny for reasons that they wouldn't have been funny back then. Some of these were entertaining. We have a reference for them that we wouldn't have had back then either, for obvious reasons. But I'm very grateful and glad I got to have these experiences this year, to tack on to my usual like film going shenanigans, and blew through 5 films right there in rapid succession. But I did time management pretty well on that, better than I normally do. So stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie I review, and stay tuned for any sort of special circumstances involving more Belcourt showcases or projects or programs. I do have a few that are still backlogged I got to get out there, but stay tuned for that. Always fun to make more content based off of what content is being made available to me. So thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie I review, and goodbye, travelers.